Hi, today I'm doing my soft skills book on the Four Agreements. Author Don Miguel Ruiz, a renowned spiritual teacher and internationally best-selling author that has spent the past 3 decades guiding people to personal freedom through his profound insights regarding the nature of human reality. The Four Agreements, a Don Miguel Ruiz 1997 New York Times best-selling book for over a decade and has sold over 6.4 million copies in the US and has been translated into 40 languages worldwide. Don Miguel bases his book on stories of wisdom that had been passed down generation after generation from his ancestry people, the Toltec people of Mesoamerica. His fascination with the stories caused him to become a scholar and a writer of his ancient peoples discovering the stories to have been real, and the knowledge of wisdom with human beliefs was a utopian society. His book offers a code of conduct based on ancient Toltec wisdom that supports freedom from self-limiting beliefs that may cause suffering and limitation in a person's life, and says that one can quickly transform their lives to a new knowledge of openness and independence with true happiness and love. Ruiz says that to find personal joy, you must first break all those society-imposed fear-based agreements which are currently tying you down. Don Miguel Ruiz says that the principles he relates in his book are not to be taken to extremes because to do that would mean that you would do more harm than good to your fellow human beings. He says to strive to do your best, which is one of the four agreements that you make to yourself, and the core agreement he emphasizes as this agreement is the one agreement that is the glue to hold all the rest. Don Miguel says, first follow the four core agreements and then add your own agreements that you personally make. He says to make it a matter of fact and as strict as possible, to strive to always do only your best. No regrets, no self-abuse. Focus on the path and enjoy it. Don Miguel Ruiz's book offers a code of conduct based on ancient Toltec wisdom that advocates freedom from self-limiting beliefs that may cause suffering and limitation in a person's life. The first agreement, to be impeccable with your word, means you don't use words to speak ill of yourself or others. It's important that it goes both ways. No one can be impeccable with your word. Ruiz says that your word is the power coming directly from God, and the word impeccable draws from the Latin and means without sin. And since no one can be without sin, this agreement can never be truly be mastered. Ruiz says to follow this path, the reader must stop entertaining negative thoughts about themselves. You must screen out negative thoughts, and you must equally stop spreading bad gossip about others, and it also ranges from the small things to the big ones. When reading this, it is reminded of a talk I heard given by the late great Tremendous Jones. He quoted an ancient teacher, Lao Tzu Lao, teachings. They said, be mindful of your thoughts, they become your words. Be mindful of your words, they become your actions. Be mindful of your actions, they become your habits. Be mindful of your habits, they become your character. Be mindful of your character, it becomes your destiny. It is said that these words of wisdom were told to his son, a great warrior that felt that he could be more than a warrior or a conqueror, and instead a great leader. His frustration sparked these words of wisdom from his father that was given true wisdom to his son. The second agreement is to don't take things personally. They'll never become true, and they'll never be your problem. Ruiz says that the outside world teaches us how to live, and not necessarily in a good way. We are told what's acceptable and what's not acceptable, and we are taught to judge others by taking things personally and believing in their dreams and beliefs. When you take something personally, you take ownership of that thought, and at that point, you take ownership of it. When you take it personally, you are admitting you believe in it. Only then it becomes true, and the power of evil is in control. The author's code of conduct says society teaches us all the rules by conditioning us, as you will get punished when you do bad and disobey the rules, and you will get rewarded when you obey the rules and do good. The author makes the example of a black magic box. When we say something negative to a kid, for example, that she or he's terrible at singing, the kid will carry it on with her or his entire life. Store in that little black box, the mind. The author also makes use of the concept of karma. When we put it out, we get it back. What you put out, you get back in. Don Miguel Ruiz uses karma as a tool to give the reader a way to understand that what we give to the world every day affects all of us. Butterfly effect will not affect your reality, but also others' reality, and can be extremely powerful. He tries to make the reader understand that this fact can be used for evil and for a source of good. And number 3, do not make assumptions. Ruiz says that we make assumptions when we believe we know what others are thinking. But we don't, and we only project our own beliefs onto others. We tend to make assumptions on the negative side. We often jump to the negative conclusion because we are afraid of negative judgments. So it's our way to hit first and shoulder the pain from rejection. This often leads to useless arguments that need not to happen in the first place, and to also acknowledge to stop assuming to know and to ask questions instead. And like others of a different opinion, Dale Carnegie, the author, also recommends avoiding arguing is to not make assumptions and to ask questions of the other's point of view instead. And number 4, always do your best. Ruiz says doing your best, regardless of quality, is the only thing you must ask of yourself. You only ask of yourself to do your best given the condition of the environment and yourself. That means that in some conditions, your best may be very poor, even compared to your previous actions. And that's great because you don't demand success or perfection, only that you know you did your best. It means that you come to enjoy the action without expecting any external price or pride, ego, or prejudice. You also avoid self-judgment, self-abuse, and regret. But don't forget the fact that you don't depend on the outcome doesn't mean you do nothing. The author gives insight to the goal one must strive to do his best. He says action is the main distinction. Always stick to doing your best, and your personal improvement and change will become an obvious result. The 4th agreement allows you to practice and to make all other agreements become a habit. When you fail to implement an agreement, don't sweat it. It's okay to start again and then again until it becomes ingrained into who you are. In the book, the author does not say that there's a 5th agreement. However, he does allude to the fact that the 5th agreement is to understand these transformational agreements are not to be engaged in absolute truth. For everyone, the best they can be is the best they can be. And that for one to truly become transformed, they must write agreements for themselves. He says that there are 2 people in this world. One is the spiritual warrior, the other is the victim. The victim living in a perpetual reality that his or her life is controlled by outside forces, using blame and excuses to force others to believe in their misfortune and circumstance that can lead to living in a life of perpetual evil. He says that the victim is afraid of and represses their emotions. However, the warrior knows that he or she's at war with his or her own mind. A spiritual warrior is the one who controls and reframes his or her own emotions and expresses them in the right moments, instead of the other way around. And by understanding they have no influence of others and knowing that their thoughts can lead to evil actions, they have the choice to spread good and grace to others, leading to a life of righteousness and prosperity without conflict. On the conclusion of his book, the author cites, "Death teaches us how to live. Imagine you had 1 week to live. Wouldn't you want to live life the way you wanted it? No more you would give no credence and fear of what others might think. That's how the angels of death can show you how to live your life the way you want it. They come to you and tell you that everything you have is not really yours. It's theirs, and they can take it anytime they want. You can use it for now, though, and if you listen to the angels of death, we will be forever happy. The angels of death also come and take away our past and make the present possible. It's the ghost within a determined past that makes hate and regret. The angels of death make it possible to how you will walk and live in the present." The author finally invites you to forget everything you have previously learned in your life. This is your new beginnings, your new dream. From now on, you create your own reality and live life as if you were dying. Don Miguel Ruiz portrays a beautiful life for you. Imagine a life without fear of being judged by others, with nothing to control you, and to take a risk with no fear of death, but in loving everything around you because you can. Thank you. That's my presentation.